Hello everyone and welcome to Chill Out, a game by GZ Storm, who you may know for Vidiot Game or Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden. So this game is a remake of an Action 52 game with the same name. It plays nothing like the Action 52 game, but that's probably for the best. Our controls are fairly simple. We can throw a snowball, we can jump, and we have a rope that we can use to attach to trees and bushes. Our goal is to climb to the top of each mountain and confront Old Man Winter. Some important notes about this game, the reason the characters speak like cavemen and are interpreted to be very primitive is because the original Action 52 game suffered from a lot of English, and this is their way of incorporating that in-universe. So you might figure in an otherwise incredibly standard platformer that the rope mechanic where we attach to bushes and trees would be the standout, but that's not the case. In order to use the rope, we double tap the jump button and we can use it to save ourselves from a nasty fall, but for the most part we don't need to use it. It's just there as an extra utility. I have no doubt you could complete the levels faster using the rope all the time, but it's already a very short game, so that may be overkill. The evil Iceman tribe on this mountain will try to shoot snowballs at us to knock us off our platforms, and if we want to deal with them, we can do the same thing. They don't have health, rather the idea is to knock them off the side of the platform, and we do this by throwing snowballs to push them around. The game is very lenient with what it considers to be the edge of the platform, so they're pretty easy to deal with so far. In fact, this game as a whole may seem kind of easy to deal with, and it is. In my experience, you just have to get into the mindset that it's a mostly normal platformer and the rope mechanic is not essential to gameplay. Because the first time I played this, I thought that the rope mechanic was going to be incredibly integral to all the platforming. But no, it's not really. The way we shoot the rope is dependent on where we are in our jump arc and how far away we are from our target. This is the level where things noticeably get a little bit more difficult. The platforms are smaller and the cavemen that we're fighting against appear on smaller platforms themselves, which makes them harder to bump off. And if the cavemen hit us with their snowballs in mid-jump, we go flying, but we can usually recover. The main hazard in this game is not the cavemen or the jumping itself. You might not have noticed what it is yet, and I wouldn't blame you because it's very subtle so far, but it's the wind. The wind is the main threat in this game. It may seem a little odd to have those cartoonish-looking wind effects be an obstacle, but it's definitely the most interesting part of the game, and it doesn't make it too difficult in spite of what it may look. We just have to jump over them. So far, nothing exceedingly difficult. This level did have more wind and smaller platforms, most of which were slippery ice platforms, but nothing that stopped us from just breezing straight through it. And now we're headed to the final mountain, which is the most difficult, but it's such a small increase in difficulty. Something that may not have been clear from the previous levels is that it is possible to end up in dead ends. There are pathways that don't lead anywhere. And there were a few times when I played this game years ago that I had to quit the game because I couldn't figure out where to go next. And sometimes this was because I expected the game to be more complicated than it actually was. You know, most of this game is just fairly normal platforming, so if I would have approached it this way, the way I am right now back then, definitely would have been a lot easier for me. You can see the wind has really stepped up its game, and there's like not a single second where there isn't a ton of wind on the screen. Getting hit by the wind in mid-jump is the worst, but if we're on the way down from our jump, it's less effective. And if it hits us while we're standing still, we can just jump out of it. But if there are several gusts that hit us at the same time in rapid succession, then there's nothing we can do about that. So we just gotta keep our eyes peeled for the gusts of wind while we're platforming, which isn't as difficult as it may seem. Actually, I'd say on the whole the game is remarkably easy. I installed it today for the first time in a few years, and I beat it very quickly within 30 minutes or so. I did get lost a couple of times, but this is only my second time playing it today, and I've already thoroughly memorized the game, so if it looks fun, you could probably just go play it yourself. It's only around 6 or 7 minutes long. Without the cutscenes, of course. The cutscenes are the best part of the game. It's not like the game itself is bad, but it is very simple. Again, the most interesting thing about it being the gusts of wind as a hazard. I'm not saying I want the game to be more difficult or anything like that. I feel like with a hazard like this, it would be very easy to go overboard and make the player incredibly frustrated. And you know, this is a short game, so maybe it's enough that it has an interesting hazard. Maybe it doesn't need to do too much more than that. This is the most difficult section of the game by far, this area with 3 cavemen on small platforms, while we're trying to climb up pretty much straight vertically. But as you saw, it still wasn't much of a problem, and we're nearly to the top of the mountain. You know, if someone repainted this game, if they made the sprites Spider-Man characters instead, like if I shot impact webbing instead of snowballs, and I shot webbing instead of a rope, I would love that. I would pay money for that. No, I wouldn't. I would not. I take that back immediately, and I'm sorry for lying. Okay, so now that we've completed all 4 mountains, we're headed to the final location, which isn't a mountain, but is instead Old Man Winter's wintry clouds. And as you might be able to predict, this is the game's sole boss fight. We simply have to find Old Man Winter and steal his staff from him. Old Man Winter flies around the stage, and it's hard to locate him until he starts shooting at you. He shoots snowballs, though, so they're very easy to see. We use our rope to take his staff, and then hit him with the snowball while he tries to get it back. After a short while, he comes from above to take the staff, and we can't do anything about that. We just have to go get it back from him. He can appear in several places on the screen. Sometimes it can be difficult to locate him, especially if he decides just not to throw snowballs, period. But he's usually on the very far left or the very far right. And we just repeat this pattern 2 more times, and that's it, we'll win the game. Very short, very simple, very easy, but it is cute. And I like that it takes elements from the Action 52 game and turns them into something more appreciable. I always get a kick out of fan games that try to find in-universe reasons for the flaws in the original work. And this does that excellently, and humorously as well. Probably wouldn't understand it if you didn't see the original game, but it's still a fun game anyway.